Okay, I think we'll get started. My name is Bill Giesentanner. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Wellesley Conservation Council, and we've put together, in conjunction with the Wellesley Natural Resources Commission, this program that's part of the City Nature Challenge 2019 Boston area, and we're focusing on Wellesley. So Lisa Moore and I have sort of put this program together to help you understand what we're doing and give you a little bit of a tutorial on using the app iNaturalist. So Lisa, you want to get started?
Yeah. All righty, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes? Excellent. All right. Yeah, we're going to go to the next slide. We said this is City Nature Challenge. We are the Natural Resource Commission and the WCC.
How many years have we been doing City Nature?
This is, I believe, the third or fourth year. Yep, it's fourth year. Yep, it's fairly new. And so just so you get a general idea of who's involved with the City Nature Challenge, you could see all of the partners down along the bottom and the specific dates that we're looking at for the City Nature Challenge. The observation window is from April 26th through the 29th. And then we have the identification window, which is from April 29th to May 5th. We also will be having a follow-up meeting May 2nd, I believe, for the identification portion. So we can all come back and meet here and work on identifying some of the things that we hopefully find in Wellesley. The whole idea of the City Nature Challenge is really to get people comfortable with using the iNaturalist app. And the hope is that people will start to use this iNaturalist app all year long, not just for the City Nature Challenge, so that there is a continued flow of information that can be gathered, and this becomes a very large citizen science project, and we can really get some data from the information that we find. So a little bit of the history. City Nature Challenge was started by the science staff at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County, Lila Higgins, and the California Academy of Sciences, Allison Young. And it started as a friendly competition between their two cities to see who could raise the most awareness about the living things that were in the city. And so they wanted to document as much wildlife as they can find in the two cities, and they just made this friendly competition against each other. And from there it grew. And now there is a global, this is now global. It's gone from very local to a global operation. And we know that there is nature all around us, even in our cities. And knowing what species are in our cities and where they are help us to study and protect them, and gives us an idea of the biodiversity of the area. And biodiversity correlates to the health of the area. So the greater biodiversity you find, the greater health the area is. So by participating in the City Nature Challenge, not only do we learn about our local nature, but you make your city a better place for you and the other species that are here. That's the goal. So how do we participate? We've really made it very simple. All you have to do is start with the iNaturalist app. You can download it for free on your iPhone or Android. If you're not an iPhone or Android person, you can simply take pictures on your phone and then bring them home, download them onto your computer, and there is an iNaturalist site that you can link to on your computer. And then either way, you're getting the information to where it needs to go. So you record your observations through a photo or a short video clip. So for example, if you hear a bird calling and you can't see the bird, if you can get a short video clip of the sound the bird is making, that also counts as observation and evidence. And then once you have that either recorded video clip or photograph, and you put it onto the app. Now, if you're going right through the iNaturalist app, it will automatically be included with the Boston area data. If you are doing it, taking pictures with a camera, and when you upload it, then you will upload it to the Boston area data. And then what happens is once you upload this information onto the app, then citizen scientists and other global scientists from around the world will see what you put on there and will help with the identification process. And the idea is to get several people to corroborate the name of what we've identified, and then that gets to research grade. And the goal is to get our observations to research grade, because at research grade, that counts towards the count of the number of species and things that we find. So we have scheduled 22 guided walks through the town on our town land. If you're willing to join, that's excellent. We have some sign-up sheets for the different walks. They are grouped by day, so from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, there are different opportunities for you to go and different times, along with different areas. So what we've tried to do is to get a selection of areas that kind of represent the various ecosystems in Wellesley. So we have Morse's Pond, we have the North 40 Vernal Pool, and the people at, that are running this, we're very happy we have some locations with fresh water, because not a lot of people make observations in fresh water. So that was a really good plus. They're happy about that for us. And then we have the Guernsey Trail, Centennial Trail, Town Forest. Did I leave anything out, Bill? I think those are the major sites that we have available. On Cronks. So we have a few places, and then in addition to that, the Charles River Cleanup Day falls within this window on Saturday. So that is an additional way, if you're interested in being a part of the Charles River Cleanup, you can do that. And then when you uncover a cute little organism, you go, oh, take a picture, and it is all part of the process. So these are some pictures I've been taking around town at various times in my nature walks. You want anything, any sign of life. So whether it is plant, animal, macro, micro, fungi, we want everything. As long as it's naturally existing and not something cultivated. If you do happen to snap pictures of cultivated things, you just have to label it cultivated in the app process, which I'll explain a little bit later. So we are part of the CNC Boston area, which Bill mentioned, and that encompasses all of the 155 towns that touch or are within the 494 corridor. It's a large area, includes many diverse habitats, marine, freshwater, urban, suburban. Currently, there are 34 partners gathering data in this area, and the hope is to engage as many people as we can to benchmark the biodiversity. The goals of the Boston City Nature Challenge, this is the bigger umbrella of our program, is to get 1,000 participants. So the idea is if we can get 1,000 participants across the Boston area, and I think as of Monday I looked, there was something like 53 or 54 activities going on for this, so hopefully that gets us up to the 1,000 participants. We're looking to make 20,000 observations, and the hope is to get 50% of them to reach research grade. And we'll talk about what research grade means in a minute. So what if you are a nature walk leader, or if you're part of a nature walk, or even if you're going out on your own, if you can try to shoot for a minimum of 25 observations, that's kind of the goal, is what we're trying to ask people to do. And we're hoping to promote exploration of the diverse and unique habitats in our community, and to grow the iNaturalist community as a whole, to get people engaged in the iNaturalist community year-round. So what I have here is a handout, and I just kind of wanted to put it up here. There are some handouts on the table that you can get at the end. And if you notice, it tells you kind of some tips and clues to getting started for the program. Obviously, we have to create the account, but aside from that, it gives you some other tips, like the taking photographs tips. You can take as many pictures as you want of a single organism that you're looking at. The goal is to actually upload between 3 and 6 pictures per observation. And if you could take those pictures from different angles to get the best view of the organism that you're looking at, along with being safe along the way. So some things to remember: on the walks is that you stay on the nature trail because that's going to keep you safer than wandering into and off of trail. If you're observing anything that is potentially a poisonous plant like poison ivy or a snake or an animal that may not be thrilled that you're trying to take its picture, that you respect the nature as well, that we understand we are out in the wild looking to take pictures of nature, but at the same time we want to make sure that we're not only being safe but respectful to the nature along the way. It does give you specific tips about photographing the different things that we might find. For example, with the plants, they would like you to photograph the entire plant, then take some close-up photos of leaves front and back, because the vein structure on leaves is how we help to identify what type of plant it is. If there are any fruits or seeds or flowers available, try to get that in a picture as well. And sometimes it's best also to step back and to take a picture of that organism in its environment, so you get a little bit of a picture of the environment behind it. And so then once you take those pictures, you can decide which you upload to the iNaturalist app, and then you pick the best ones that you have. Obviously, clarity is going to be really important, so the better focus and the better job you do in getting these minute details will help with the identification process in the end. For birds, you want to try again to photograph the entire animal at different angles. For birds, looking at things like their beak structure, their feet, how they fly, their wing structure are important identifiers for birds along with colors. For insects, again, try to get the whole animal at different angles. If you can get top, side, upside down, you know, if it falls off a leaf or something like that. But again, taking photo of the surrounding area also helps to identify the animal, because based on what that insect is feeding on, it will help us to identify what that animal could be. Okay, for reptiles and amphibians, obviously if you come across snakes, we want to always treat that carefully. We want you to get as close as possible to take a picture, but not too close where you're putting yourself in any risk or danger. And for mammals, again, try to get different angles, get a picture of the surrounding environment that it's in. That also, again, helps us to identify the type of animal you're looking at. It is not always possible to get an actual picture of the animal. Footprints, scat or poop, right? Any kinds of remains we find. That is all evidence of the wildlife in and around our area, and that is acceptable evidence to put up as part of the City Nature Challenge. So, for example, if you find an owl pellet at the base of a tree, you want to take a picture of the owl pellet, the tree that it came from, right? And in a minute, you see how this has a ruler on the bottom? So, something to scale. So it's a good idea if you're looking at small things to either put the ruler down, because I have these for everybody before you leave, or put down a quarter, a nickel, a penny, something that has a definite size to it, so that we can get an understanding of scale of the size of the organism we're looking at. Okay? Bum, 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 bum. What's going on there? It's stopped. Let's see if we go back or forward.
It'll take a second, I think.
I think maybe just sleeping. So does anybody have any questions first? Because the next slide, once we get it to move forward, is how to use the app. Has everybody downloaded the app, or is there anyone who has not downloaded the app yet? But you will? Okay. And if you have an iPhone or an Android, it works the same way. We have some descriptions. But here's an example, right? There's a lichen on the tree. You want to get a good photograph of the lichen. You simply take a good picture of it. You can take it from different angles, because sometimes different angles show a variation in color, or you can start to see a little bit of the kind of whether it has lobes around it or whatever kind of structure you might see there. Okay? And then once you take the picture, you're going to make your observation. So if you have an iPhone, you can simply go on to the App Store. It's a free app. You look for iNaturalist, right? And then once you get that on your phone, you're going to just tap the Observe button in the iNaturalist app. And that brings up the camera. And you can take live pictures right then and there with the camera. If you happen to have already taken pictures that you want to use, then there's a little icon, usually in the bottom right corner, that is a photograph icon, and that's photos that are already existing. So you can do it through the Live app or upload pictures that you'd already taken. Add one or more photos as evidence, and when I went to a webinar for this program, they suggested 3 to 5 pictures per observation. More pictures the better, because you're allowing different angles and different views of the organism, okay? When you take this through your phone, it will automatically register the location and the time and the date. So you don't even have to worry about adding that information into your phone or anything like that, or with the pictures, because that automatically gets done. If you're taking pictures without an iPhone, you'd want to record a date stamp on the picture with your camera if you can, so at least you have the date that it was taken on there. And then location would be something you'd maybe want to take notes when you take those pictures, so that you can, if your camera is not digital and it doesn't take a location stamp, then at least you can put the location down where you were, because that's part of the data when, that is collected through the app. Okay?
Just a quick note. The material we're showing all comes from tutorials that are online. So if you want to go back and check out any of this stuff, once you have the app or once you have iNaturalist on your computer, you can get these tutorials.
Yeah, absolutely. And then same process for the Android, just setting it up just a little bit different if you have an Android. But again, you can go right on, you know, just go Google iNaturalist and it will walk you through the steps of how to get on. And after we're done, we're kind of going to break off into groups. So if anybody has had a hard time getting it on their app or opening their app, we can help you with that. Dun, dun. Oh, Bill, I don't have the magic touch you do.
No, it just takes time sometimes.
See, I'm just impatient.
These are, some of them are big files, so they take a while.
Lisa, did you say if we had pictures already from these places?
So you have to take, the pictures have to fall within the window. So if you took a picture last year at Kronk's, that's not part of this year's data collection. So we want current pictures within the time frame. Yep. Oh yeah, practice all you want. The data is not going to start to be brought into the umbrella of the Boston area BioBlitz until the actual date time it starts. So it starts on Friday at 12 a.m. and it goes through Monday to 12 a.m. So it's
in there, but I'm not sure.
yeah, that would not be counted towards the data collection because it falls outside the data collection window, but it's great practice.
It looked to me like you can still be uploading things, it's just not part of the content.
Exactly. So you can upload every day of the week from now and forever onto the iNaturalist, and people within the iNaturalist community will identify and follow that. It's just that during the City Nature Challenge, you just have this 4-day window where across the globe, everybody's doing the BioBlitz at the same time. Yeah.
That was my point. I was just going to say you can start doing iNaturalist now.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't count for the City Nature Challenge.
Exactly.
And you'd actually be wise to start doing it.
Absolutely.
iNaturalist doesn't seem to have any problem with lots of observations coming in.
No, that's the goal. The goal is that iNaturalist is used all year round as a data collecting tool, and that scientists all across the globe can share that data. And once you get the data in there, if you don't have to name it, you don't have to say this is a turkey vulture. If you don't know the name of the organism, leave it blank. There are suggested IDs that you can look at, but it's actually easier for the community to clarify when there's no name given than if there was a false name given. So it's best, unless you're 100% sure you know what the organism is, leave the name blank. And then what happens is people within the iNaturalist community will go, they'll look at your pictures and they'll say, oh, that's a turkey vulture. And if you get 2 people or 3 people to verify the same identification, it gets to research grade. And that's the whole thing. It's casual grade until it's verified by 2 more people, then it reaches research grade, and once it reaches research grade, it counts towards the greater collection.
Okay, and what do you recommend? So I put in this picture, they gave me swans as cygnus, but then there's lots of more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so should I start with the most broad, since I don't know exactly?
Absolutely.
Swan, but it's helpful to say cygnus.
You could even have gone to birds, right? We could start with bird, and then they move into the greater. We're trying to look on a species level at this point, so yeah.
To follow up what you said, it's actually a really fantastic program for just looking at stuff. Because I was in the Caribbean last week, and there was a tree outside. I had no idea what it was, and just used this program, and it came up with 3 suggestions, and it was fairly obviously one of them.
Yeah.
So it's amazingly powerful. So if you're at all curious, just use it all the time.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
I've been practicing this week, and I've been going around my backyard, and I've been taking some pictures, and that was like yesterday, and I think I uploaded 15 pictures yesterday in like 5 minutes, and by today they're all research grade, because people in the iNaturalist community have gone and corroborated what I put in, more than one of them, and now I got the 3 I needed, so automatically it gets up to research grade. And that's really the goal, because the better picture you can provide, the easier it is for other people in the scientific community to identify that organism.
This
Okay.
isn't advancing. So
Okay.
I think questions and answers are just fine right now.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I did want to say is that for each of the areas that we're having guided walks, I've created a iNaturalist project, and that automatically collects observations in the past, over this weekend, and in the future. So we'll have these as permanent sources of data for each of the properties that we're having the guided walks at this weekend. And we can add to that as time goes on. We can create more projects. And what that does is give us anybody that wants to participate anytime. Then for this weekend, we can just restrict it to this weekend and see what happened this weekend.
Yeah, and what happens is it all still gets put into the larger umbrella of the Boston area automatically, based on the location of where you take that picture.
So do pass the mic around if you have questions.
Okay, so for those, like if you put in Centennial Park and I'm photoing there, do I have to upload my pictures to that project? Is that
No, it'll automatically be accumulated into the project. You can join the project if you want, and there's really no advantage to that. We just would have you on a list of people who are participating.
That's what I'm
in
not
that
getting
project.
is how, so I saw them on here, if I go to nearby.
Yep.
So how, if I'm all over the place taking photos, how does it know it's going into that project?
The
Through your phone.
geolocation on the
Oh,
photo.
okay. So you set it up that way. Okay,
Well,
okay.
and your phone automatically, when you take a photograph, marks the location, time, and date.
Yeah,
on a
I
phone.
wasn't getting how it gets into his, but it's because you marked that location.
Yeah, I put the boundaries.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
around, so
Okay, great, thank you.
If you don't want the location known, like if you're shooting things in your backyard and you're not particularly interested in having people know that, you can restrict that. You can turn off the location feature. Then we just don't have the location.
And the only thing I would suggest if you turn off the location is that you don't put your specific location like your home address, but so that they can understand that it's in Massachusetts or, Wellesley, but not your direct home, and then it will still be part of the greater project.
I also noticed that I had to search on Wellesley under project to get to the North 40 and the Guernsey. It didn't come up on its own.
Yeah, so you can just type in
Yeah,
search.
just typing in Wellesley brought up.
You don't
You
have to.
don't have to,
No.
because automatically your data is going to go to the locations based on your geolocation on your phone.
But one of the nice things about the project, you can look at the project and see what other people are seeing in the area that you're interested in.
Yeah. And it also helps us for future that we know in Guernsey there is this population of whatever we find there, and are we providing the right habitat for those organisms and things like that. So down the road, that's going to help us as a town understand our biodiversity.
So I have a question about the group walks. You have 10 people, each with their phone. Does each person photograph the mushroom?
Yes.
From 6 different angles? Okay.
So that's an important question. We're looking for number of observations, right? So if 6 people all see the same mushroom, that's 6 people who observed that living thing in that area, and that's important data. And through the app process and through the greater umbrella of the Boston process, that all gets counted as, you know, number of species identified. So, yeah.
Don't they summarize it based on number of participants, number of observations, and then number of species?
Yes.
So even though you have 10 on your walk and they all take the same tree, that's still 10 observations.
10 observations.
It's one species,
Yes.
but still it gets counted in 1, you're a person,
Absolutely.
2, you're an observation, and then collectively it's one species.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's why we're hoping that each individual can make at least 25 observations. And I will tell you that you can make 25 observations in 10 minutes. I mean, you turn over a log, there's 8 bugs under there of different kinds, and you can easily, you know, take a picture of that. If you do take a photograph and it has more than one organism in it, you want to crop and save things cropped separately so that when you're putting them on the, for your observation, you're adding the photo for your observation, people can identify which one you are kind of focusing on. So, for example, I had a picture of a turkey vulture and a crow on top of the roof, and the crow was harassing the turkey vulture. So that's 2 observations. I have to upload them separately, and I try to focus on, you know, I crop it so you just see the turkey vulture and then you just see the crow, and that's 2 separate observations and using basically the same photo. Does that make sense?
For the leader who's going to the North 40, we're especially hoping to find any protected species. So look hard.
Yes. Well, for the North 40, for example, I will be bringing, for the ones that I lead, and I could leave it there for the other people that want, some bins and buckets and some plastic spoons. A white plastic soup spoon is an excellent background when you're trying to photograph, for example, a fairy shrimp or a back swimmer or some other organism that, you know, is an aquatic organism. Some bins to gather up the water, and then you can have, if you have any kids or anybody else who comes, they can look through the water in the bin for the organisms, because we don't want, obviously, everybody traipsing through the vernal pool and damaging that fragile habitat. But I plan on bringing my hip waders to go in and see if I can gather up a few samples of some things, and then have it out for people when they're observing there. And then don't forget that the surrounding woods of that North 40 is also important habitat, and to try and look there as well as what's in the water.
So I think you said this, but does it take video also? So if you see a bird flying?
Yep, you can do short video clips, audio. And photographs.
Okay. And that's obvious how you upload the?
It's not quite as obvious, but if you have any problems with that, you can certainly shoot me an email and we'll try to upload it, or you could send it to me and I can upload it to the app as well.
Tonight, someone could start singing.
So you're taking the picture in the app, or you're taking the picture with your
You can
camera
do it
on
either
your
way.
phone?
So if you have the app already uploaded, you can press the observe button, your camera will open.
And is there a video?
And it's live, you just take pictures.
I didn't see a video.
There is video, you can take video, but I also suggest while you're taking a video, there's a separate button on the left, a little white button. Like the red button is the camera button with the video, and then there's a little button on the left that's a white button that takes individual snapshots of the video. There's other ways to go about turning a video into a snapshot, which I could do as well, and we can help each other. Sometimes it's easier to upload them on your computer because videos take a little bit more time and they're harder to upload on your phone. So if you are taking a video or an audio clip, you may not want to do that live through your app because it might take time for it to load, and that would be time you're not taking other photographs and things. So you can just use your camera on your phone, take that video, and remember later to upload a short clip of it, and you can like shrink that clip down to an appropriate size through your phone. So the idea is wild. So we're really not looking for cultivated. Certainly, it's part of data for the town. It's not part of the larger picture for the City Nature Challenge. So they're really looking for wild plant, animal, fungi, whatever you can find that's wild.
So the photo I took of the cherry tree at Wellesley College, that would be cultivated?
That would be cultivated. You can add the photo. You just have to put the identifier that it's cultivated. It's an excellent question. I think that if you're unsure if it's cultivated, you can leave it blank. Some things, based on what they are, we will know that they're cultivated because it may not be a species that naturally occurs around here, that kind of a thing. But that's why we've set up our walks kind of within the trail system and in more of the wild spaces of Wellesley. But if you're going to do this on your own and go in your own backyard, you're going to see, you try to avoid those, box bushes that you planted in your, garden, and instead try to maybe find an insect that's crawling on that box bush or something like that, right? So that you're looking more for the wildlife that is living on it as opposed to that cultivated plant. Well, certainly we have invasives that are here that are wild, right? Garlic mustard is everywhere. It's not that we planted it in our garden, right? That got here from somewhere else, and that's part of the data collection. So absolutely, I would include those as well, because that's also going to be information that we in the town can then use later on.
Not that I'm going to go take a picture of this, but I was just kind of curious. For instance, around Longfellow Pond, there was an old homestead.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can see dailies, I think, that now are wild, but they weren't at once. Is that considered cultivated?
What do you think, Bill? That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think things like daylilies that are in the woods would be, I would mark them as cultivated, just because they're not wild, they're not native.
It wouldn't have gotten there all by itself.
No, no.
But for example, rhododendrons, most of us have rhododendrons that are cultivated. If you go to some other, like in Medfield, there's wild rhododendrons that are part of the woods there that are native. So it kind of depends on where you are. And again, if you're unsure, just take a picture and let it be in the app. And if later on the scientists want to say, well, that really doesn't fit, then they will kind of cull it from the collection of the Nature Challenge. But it still goes for the general data on iNaturalist.